everyone. Good morning from Graz, where the tree in the background is a tree which stands in my office. I don't know why, but I love it. So I'm not sitting on a terrace in the fresh air, although it could seem so. Thank you for coming again. Thank you for diving into audience engagement. I think I don't have to, should I say shortly who I am or is, okay, very short. I'm a Musikvermittlerin, so I'm professor for audience engagement. This is one of the words in German for it. It's very hard to define this actual praxis field in the cultural sector. Um, I've, I'm also vice rector for academic and international affairs, so I have a bit of a breakout room now for my own topic this morning. Thank you for that, dear Helena and Adele. Um, yes, and let's start, I think. Let's go into our topic, audience engagement, which is slightly different to audience development, because now we are talking about the audience who really wants to come, and how could we engage them. We don't speak about the very specific, educated, well-informed audience who only wants to go to a concert, listen to the concert, and don't do anything else. And I myself love concerts who are this way, just simply music and nothing else. But there are many different groups of audiences, and those are the people we are talking today. So I will start again with a short introduction. I think it will last about 20-25 minutes. And then we go into breakout rooms and try to share our thoughts and experiences on the topic. And then we come again together and share it with the whole group. And I will share my desktop now with you. And I hope you can see it. Helena, could you nod? Perfect. Okay. As I said in the introduction, audience engagement has different kind of names in the different languages. So in Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, we speak about Musikvermittlung when we mean audience engagement. We also speak about outreach, education when it comes to children. I'm not sure if the médiation culturelle is what it's really meant, because perhaps you can teach me that at the end of the session, if this comes near to médiation culturelle or not, because médiation culturelle would be the translation of Musikvermittlung, but I think it's slightly different, but I'm not sure. So I would like to start with a study, the Concerti newspaper launched in 2016 about audiences of concerts. So about people who already go to concerts. And they wanted to ask them what would make a visit more attractive. And sorry for the German words, but I will translate them, of course. What did the audience answer to this question? They said, they were asked, do you think a champagne reception would make your visit more attractive? Or pictures of the recital, or early booking discounts, or low costs for food and drinks, or recordings of the musician? Or, and that's now interesting for us, would you like introductions and talks in advance of before the concert, or do you want to meet the artists? And you can see over 30% would like to know more about the artists, and 25% really want to have additional talks and information. And then, of course, the winner takes it all. It's the low costs of admission fees. That's what would make the visit more attractive to most of the audiences, of course. But my question to you would be now, does this information and talks and introductions, does this engage the audience and meet the musicians? And what does audience engagement would mean to you? And I would like to ask you to put your thoughts into the chat, and we will use it in the final plenary. So just what is audience engagement for you? Because it's a term which we can use now professional, but we all have an attitude to what this could be and what it's for you personally. So thank you for your thoughts in the chat. If we speak about audience engagement for young people, then we always speak about, of course, concerts for children, for younger audiences who are in schools, for families. But we also speak about workshops, and we speak about long-term partnerships who really try to engage their audience. And these long-term partnerships are between an orchestra or an ensemble and educational institutions. So we have partners between schools and ensembles, and we have also partnerships between kindergartens and ensembles. And then we speak about education. So even in the German-speaking countries, we then speak about audience education, audience engagement as education, and we have education departments at the ensembles and orchestras. And it's very, very important to know that it's, of course, helpful to know something about the compositions and to be able to class it historically and to have some knowledge about the production. But it's really, really important that all these workshops and concerts for children are not an educational guide as a school lesson, because it's different. It happens in a concert hall, it happens in an artistic field, and even if it happens in a school class or in the kindergarten, it should create an artistic atmosphere. And all the context, all the historic things, all the how is the music made up should come artful and not as a lesson. And that's what we did before Corona. On the left side, you see a cello player of the Württembergische Kammerorchester, which I accompanied for 3 years to develop their own Musikvermittlungsprogramm, audience engagement program. And they did very often used workshops to get the young people closer to the instrument, to even let them touch it, let them try to create sounds for themselves. So he did this for the first time, but he did it very well. And on the right-hand side, you see a workshop by the Aurora Orchestra, and they really tried their best during the Corona crisis. We are still in this Corona crisis. And they did very short films, so you can see a lot of films on their webpage. They are all between 3 and 5 minutes and try to engage the young audience to, I don't know, the Jupiter Symphony of Mozart, or the Oboe Concerto by Strauss, or the Symphonie Fantastique by Berlioz, we are speaking about a bit later. By dancing, by trying to find, you can see there this little monster on the finger of Jessie, who is a composer, by her education, but now works as a Musikvermittlerin, as audience in the field of audience engagement. And the children had to find a monster which in their home, like anything, and then they did flying and all sorts of things to this oboe concerto. What does it mean to to engage your audience. If we are speaking about children, then it's, of course, there are always interactive moments during a concert. The musicians invite the children to sing along with them, to dance at their seat, even if it's not only with their hands, to do some body percussion if it's a good rhythmically piece. But as well, audience engagement means to be active while listening, to really have the ears open, to immerse in a situation during the concert, and to create a communicative atmosphere between the musicians and their audience. I've put there a lot of links for you. I don't want to show you a film this time because I think we should use the time to get into talking with each other. But I will tell you what I've elected, because I don't want to speak about best practice. I always speak about good practice because it's so dependent on the ensemble, on the orchestra, on the moment, on the country, on a kind of taste you have, what you like, what you hate, what you think is really sensible or not. So we have a lot of good practice, and everybody of us has a certain field of best practice, but it's very personal. So I've chosen for you all these small workshops with Jessie, because they are really so diverse and so lively, and you can watch them by video. Then I've chosen a channel the Elbphilharmonie Hamburg has put in for concerts of the world. And there is still one in the stream. I've checked it this weekend, and it's without words, so everybody can join in. So I've elected this. And the last one is in German, I'm sorry, but it's really a nice kind of classical, traditional concert for children, but very nice done. It's by the Viennese Symphony Orchestra, and it's about Mozart. And you can see the whole concert, or you can see only a trailer, as you like. So audience engagement also works for adults, of course. And what orchestras, ensembles, musicians do when they work with adult people, then they try to bring, for instance, the context, the historic context into the concert. The picture you can see is also about the Aurora Orchestra, and they've done a wonderful piece of work, which I've also given into the internet links. It's the Symphonie Fantastique, together with an actor who plays Berlioz, because it's a very autobiographic piece of music, so this works very well. And the musicians play by heart, which is important because they have to move a lot and to do a lot of atmosphere, as you can see in the background. And it was at the BBC Proms, so it's for a wide audience, and not so educated audience, but an audience who want to have an immersive experience. What are they doing as well? They try to use the space of a concert hall in a new way. So there are these concerts where you can sit in the middle of the orchestra next to the musicians, but you can lie down. We will have examples later where the people are lying in the concert hall. You can change the starting times of concerts, and then you will get a very different audience, which would need this different time. So now in Corona times, we have many concerts in this very short period where we could play our concerts in presence. We had concerts which started at 6 p.m., which was very unusual in Austria. Because we had concerts that started at 6, at 8:30, and no, 7:30 and 9 o'clock. And this is now very attractive for different audiences, because people who come from the office and want to go to a concert before they go home, they enjoy 6 o'clock. Also, elderly people enjoy 6 o'clock. Then you have the normal audience who want to eat a bit and then go to the concert. They have the 7:30. And you have a bunch of people who are younger, who want to start later at the evening, and they could go at 9 o'clock to the concert. So I think we will have a lot of this playful thing with starting times after Corona as well. Yes, so I've also some examples for you. So on the left side, you see a wonderful concert hall, a Baroque concert hall, and people who are doing yoga before the concert starts. And it's not, they are not doing yoga with the music, but they are doing yoga before the music starts. So they get another kind of perception, and this is their kind of engagement. And on the right-hand side, you see the Ensemble Moderne, who commissioned compositions which involved the audience. So the audience was asked to play along, to do sounds, to sing, to shout, to walk around, very different projects. And they were part of the composition and joined the Ensemble Moderne. And there on the left-hand side, you have an example for playing with the starting time, or even with the time a concert could last. The left is Symposium, a concert program by the Klangforum Wien, which lasts for 8 hours. And because this is so long, the people can't sit on seats, but they have these futons in the hall, and they start sitting and end lying, because after 45 minutes they get a glass of wine. So after 8 hours, you can imagine they have to lie down. They can't sit anymore. But they are not drunk, but they have changed their perception as the yoga people. And the last example is a form which is called listening twice. And it's a very nice introduction talk, which is really not like musicologist's introduction, but it's a talk with the musicians and the audience. You can see it's in a circle. You see the heads of the audience there, and you can see the musicians. And this is the Musikvermittlerin, the woman who does the talking with the musicians, and it's very animated talking, and everybody can ask a question. So, and these are my examples for you. Last week, we had a new podcast at our festival Styriate in Graz, which I liked very much because it's about the woman who is in charge for audience engagement at the Styriate is not a musician. That's unusual, but most of the time they are musicians, but she is not, and she's very proud of that, because she says that in this way she really can have the perspective of a normal audience. And she asks the questions to the dramaturg of the Styriate about the Schöpfung by Haydn. And they have a really interesting talk about everything, about the universe and politics and so on. It's really an interesting talk, which includes many. And then I've chosen the projects of this Connect program of the Ensemble Moderne, where they engage the audience by making music themselves. And the last example is this Symphonie Fantastique by the Aurora Orchestra. And the last example I've mentioned when I was with you the very, very first time, and I would like to repeat it again because it's such a nice example. It was together with the performance of the Messiah at a festival. It was only to change the entrance doors to the hall, and they have had an entrance for believers and they had an entrance for non-believers. And so simple, the audience entered the room engaged already because they had to think about their personal beliefs and if they are believers at all, or if they only want to hear wonderful music by Handel. So the last, yes, it's why are we doing this? Why do we try to let the people participate, and why do we contextualize the concerts themselves? Because we want to address new audiences and because we want to bind the existing audiences closer, because then they can connect to the music really. They have to think about themselves and the music and the situation and why they are here. They have the possibility to identify with this kind of music, and we hopefully derive relevance or meaning from a performance in this kind of way. We have a third approach to audience engagement, and it's very strong connected to artistic citizenship. And then this kind of audience engagement looks for collaborations with institutions in the city or the region. They are working together with hospitals, with prisons, with homes for elderly people. They try to do neighborhood projects, community orchestras, and so on. There are a lot of projects now by musicians and orchestras and ensembles who try to connect in this kind of way. And my last example is an example again from the Styriate Festival in Graz. They invited a young blogger who is only 21 to have a closer look at the website of the festival, and to say what comes to her mind if she looks at this festival, if she would be interested to join a concert, if they would like to come. And what she really mentions, because it was so obvious for her, she doesn't feel represented at the website. And she says anyone who wants to feel addressed must also feel to be represented. She can't find pictures of young people in the audience. She can't find pictures of young musicians who are part of the concerts. So she doesn't feel represented as a 21-year-old woman. And then she says another thing. What she really wants is, what she would like to find on the website of the festival, I find only occasional evidence that non-traditional values, such as equality of all people, regardless of gender, origin, or sexual orientation, play an active role. No way to provide young people with an active platform where they can have their say. That is what is her analysis, and I think that gives us an impression of what young people really want to see as kind of citizenship of cultural institutions. They want to feel represented, and they want to feel a certain bonding between them. Is there something they could really join, or does this kind of concert really means her? Should she really come to a concert like this? So this is the end of my short introduction. I was again a bit longer than I wanted to be. I'm sorry for that. I'm ending this. Ah, wonderful. I see answers of you about your approach for audience engagement. So I will read them all now during your breakout session, and I will visit you in your breakout session. And now comes what I would like you to do. Sorry, I have to do it in the chat. So here it comes. My questions for you for the breakout rooms this time would be, please slip into your audience. This is really important. You have to change the perspective, not think about the audience as an organizer, as a musician, as someone who does the concert, but really slip into your audience. And then on this basis, on the basis of a specific concert you are planning after Corona, during Corona, as you like it, what context could help to dive into the music? Do you have any idea for a concert? What could you do with the context of the piece of music to bring it into the concert, to make it more immersive? Or what kind of setting in the hall would help to have an immersive experience? Could you change anything in the hall? Could you do something with the seats? Could you come nearer or more far away or go upstairs, whatever? And how, as an audience, would you like to enter into a conversation with the music? So what would you be interested in? What could be the questions if you are in the role of the audience? This is really important, and it's not easy because you all are professionals. You all are doing it the whole time that you provide concerts, that you think about the best musicians or how to deliver your music. And now you have to really change the perspective and slip into the audience. What would they want of you? This would be the task for about 25 minutes, 30 minutes. I will try to come to your rooms, not like a ghost like the last time, but I will try with Adele some kind of dialogue that I can hear your sentence to be finished and then walk away again. And we will meet again in the plenary after about 25 minutes. I had only short visits in the 5 breakout rooms, but I had again the impression that you are quite in deep discussions about talking, sharing experiences. I had also the impression that that it's really hard to switch the perspective, to dive into the audience. Who could they be? What would they want? What would they desire? Could you imagine what this could be? This is really hard. And it's also hard for us because I've told you, we as a university, we are a concert organizer too, and we have a subscription audience which comes really regularly, and we ask ourselves the same questions. What do they really want? What do they really desire? And the difficulty is that they don't have the same desires. So that we have groups who would really attend a yoga lesson before a chamber or chamber music concert, but we have many people who would think we are crazy now, and what are we doing, and we can't do this. So to find a way through these diverse desires and wishes of the audience, it's really hard, and it could mean that you have to diversify and to really make different offers for different kind of audiences. But we are on the same way as well. So before we start the round, and I would like to ask your groups what your conclusions are, or what your state of the discussion was. I would refer to your comments in the chat. I like them very much because they were so on the point. I would like to start with one remark, which was about getting to know each other and learning from each other. That is I think what we are so in need now after this Corona settings, because we are also alone and so being in our homes and private, and there's no feeling of community anymore in society. And I think concerts and culture as the whole thing is a meeting point. It's really a knot where society is built, where society can see each other, can build a community. And when we getting back to normal, I think this would be one of the main tasks for all of us who try to address the audience more, is how can we create situations where people can come together and get to know each other. And this is not easy, because if you're only going to a concert, it's very hard to get to know somebody you don't know already. So you have to create an atmosphere where this is possible. But I think that's one of the key points. You said that the audience has to do something. Yes, I agree. Even especially young audience really has to do something, should be interactive in one way or another. But I think also active listening is something you are doing. But to be active, to really be active in listening, is something you can create by creating a dramaturgy in your concert where you can open your ears and really focus. Um, you talked about a very small concert venue which only has place for 50 visitors. This is ideal for any audience engagement situation because it's so small. You have so easy possibilities to have a more private atmosphere, more communicative atmosphere. That's wonderful. I like the remark very much that somebody says engaged audience is also responsible for a magical moment. That's so true, because a concert, the musicians could be the best musicians ever, but if the audience doesn't want and is tired and not focused, then the concert, the moment floats away. And so there's also a responsibility in on the side of the audience that I liked very much. You talked about education, and I think as well it needs education. It would be a lie if we say uh, early music, classical music, contemporary music is easy accessible. That's not true. It's not easy accessible, but we can make it accessible. That I'm very much convinced of. And that's why we need education. We need the normal education at school, and we need educational moments in concert halls, but they shouldn't be like a school lesson, but have the art inside. That's so important. It should be artful themselves. And there's so many possible artful education. Um, you talked about when is it better to have this audience engagement, before the concert, after the concert. I also heard it in your groups, and I think we now make the experience in Graz that it's really good to have the talks after the concert. And we have now this situation that we start our concerts earlier because they are on streaming. Now we stream at 7. We can't take these long concerts, but we have only 1 hour and 15 minutes. And after the concert, we provide for the audience a Zoom again, and they can join us all via Zoom and talk with the musicians. Because after a concert, it's so much easier for the musicians to talk about something than before. Before it's really stressful. And between, one group talked about talking during the concert. It also depends if it's really good or it's from the dramaturgy really good or not. Um, Yes, and I only wanted, because I talked so fast about listening twice. It's a concert format where you have a very short piece, 20 minutes, a piece of music which doesn't last any longer than 20 minutes. You hear it for the first time without anything, without any explanation, pure music, nothing else. Then you have the talking with the musicians and the audience. What was it all about? What could you hear? What is special about the music? What was in the rehearsal phase a very interesting task to do? And then the audience have the possibility to hear the same piece of music again, and could have another experience than before, could have the same experience. It's a very soft kind of audience engagement, because it leaves you with your own perception, and it gives you an add-on, and then you can hear it again. So that was me, but now it's you. Who would like to start from the group number one? What were your conclusions or discussions?
Oui, bonjour à tous. Donc, effectivement, on a évoqué un peu toutes
Well,
ces
in the French-speaking group, we touched upon these different questions and everything you said, Constance. What is probably also important is to give some thought on how you welcome people. So, and we thought maybe we need to do what they do in sports. You know, when you get a sort of initiation, you get a first session where people tell you how to do these things for the first time. So we also discussed the possibility of open rehearsals with a conversation with musicians. We also talked about organizing things outside of the concert hall before we attract people inside our concert halls. Maybe we need to attract them and meet them outside of the concert hall. So we discussed buses that go to visit people in their own towns or villages, even a barge or a riverboat, or any different ways of attracting a new audience. We discussed also the participatory aspect. It's something we'd like to develop. So we'd like to imagine new things. And we think that maybe it's not as common in France as it is in certain English-speaking countries, but we mentioned the Messiah by Handel or the Ninth Symphony by Beethoven, where you could certainly imagine something of a participatory experience.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. And thank you for the possibility of outreach, because this is really a fine thing also for audience development, to find a new audience. That's great. Thank you very much. May I ask the group number two?
I'll give feedback myself, says Agathe. Well, we discussed of how we could engage audience maybe upstream from the concert, having a chat or a conversation the day before, and we also discussed all the potential interactions during performance, during breaks, for example, during intersessions. So you have to pick the right musicians who are at ease talking to the audience. So maybe give some information about one musical instrument or one aspect of a piece, which could help people relate to the work. And we discussed what you mentioned, Constance, with the two entrances and the Messiah. So think of the place, the location, and how it could inform the experience of people, how they could become more aware of the place that they are in. And we also discussed the fact that sometimes you feel like dancing when you listen to Baroque music. So why not organizing a Baroque ball? That's a form of participation. We and we also discussed a more intuitive, maybe, experience of audience engagement, not to think of it as education, but something more intuitive, rethinking the way people relate to music. And I made one proposal that was not necessarily the most popular, but which was to think of the place smartphones play in our lives. And use that to prepare for a concert. So there could you could organize a chat group before a concert. Think of also apps to say what you enjoyed the most or what you love. And then you can get matched with people who loved the same bits of the concert. Of course, the reason why it's not necessarily popular is that a lot of we often try to get people not to use their smartphones during a concert, but maybe use smartphones in a different way. So you have to rethink the fact that the concert is also a special moment in your day. It is separate from the rest of your day. And also it's very important to make for good listening conditions, that you feel welcome in the concert hall. The possibility of eating whilst you listen to the music, because people feel more at ease. So it makes it a bit more informal. And that's about it.
Thank you very much. I loved your idea with the ball. I could imagine that could be a wonderful workshop in advance of a concert, to have some steps to learn very easily, and then perhaps do something together at the end of the concert or something like this. That could be a wonderful idea. Because of the smartphones, just a very short comment. There are several apps now, as the Wolfgang app you've perhaps heard about, which really tries to guide you through a concert, like a program note. You are listening to something, and during your listening process there comes something on your smartphone, what you are listening at the moment, and what this is about. And this is very typical for me. There are people who hate this, and there are people who love it. And you can't find a solution for both of them. But you can, for instance, reserve seats for people who like to use their smartphones during the concerts. And there is a special section in your audience, and there they are the smartphone people. And then you have the rest of the people who really don't want to be disturbed at all. If you can manage, then you have a solution for this. And I like what Agathe said about chatting about what you are listening. Also, I know a festival who tried during their streaming concerts to open a chat for the audience, so that they can comment at the moment they want to comment something. And they did. And then you have something, you know more about your audience through these chats. Thank you very much. May I ask the group number 3? And I think it was the group with Albert? I'm not sure.
Yes, but I've delegated to Jan to speak about. I'm afraid we didn't really take notes as a group, so personal impressions, here we go.
Yes, I don't have a pink phone behind me, but I didn't make any notes either. But we have been talking about how we can change the the concert as a formula, as an event. And by doing this, we were talking about the fact that we don't really reach all the audience that we would like to reach. I kind of misused my own children as an example because I have three nearly adults. Well, it depends on the day a bit, but children, and they have been talking a lot with them about my work and how we organize concerts. They don't feel connected to this because it's not really. They don't feel the communication. They don't see their peer group appearing in what we do. And by talking about this, we thought about how we see the musician as an artist and how we can communicate the image or the personality of an artist better to an audience so that they can feel the connection more with artists and music than rather only with the music, which is of course a very difficult question. We also talked a bit about choosing venues as a way of attracting people to come to a concert. So yeah, that was it, what we talked about.
Thank you very much. What you did, I think, is something also the festival I mentioned, the Styriate, did when they asked the young blogger to give feedback about their website and if they feel addressed at all. And you are using your children as a kind of advisory board. And I think that could be a solution for some time, if you have a festival or a new series, to ask a bunch of people you think you really want to know what they are thinking about your program, and mix them and have different age groups, and just get in touch with them, talk with them, what they think about your planned programs, and what could be entrance possibilities for them. So perhaps this could be a good idea, not only the children, but more of your audience to build advisory board groups. Yes, please, Jan.
More, I just saw that I live in Ghent, in a very nice city, where there's a concert hall who just formed a board of young people as some kind of a mirror board to the board of trustees that they have, so they can give comment on what the adult board is doing, and so they can use it in the programmation of the concert hall.
Perfect, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. So may I ask the group number 4?
Hi, should I say something on behalf of our group? We didn't particularly take notes. I scribbled a few things down, so please do jump in, anybody else, if I miss anything out. We talked about the presentation of concerts and the way they are presented to audiences. We talked about talks and talking before concerts, whether it's better to talk during the concert rather than in the concert. It was commented, however, that not all musicians are good at talking, and one response was to use animateur type figures, as we'd call them in the UK, to deliver that. And there was also a comment that one of the few good things to have come out of the online activity, the pandemic activity, is of course you can create the programs that you put online, so you can record the talking at a different point from the playing, and you don't, as an artist, have that stress of having to think about playing in 3 minutes time and engaging with the audience. Moore mentioned a really interesting initiative in Galway, I felt, which was called music, what was it called, 3 Kinds of Music, which is a lunchtime series where they have musicians from different genres, maybe jazz artists, a rock cellist, a singer-songwriter, all coming together in a 45-minute program. And the program is a mashup, is a mix-up of different things. So you get perhaps people who might be coming to hear the rock cellist, who then end up listening to a jazz trio or something. But Jörn pointed out that in the Netherlands, they tried that in his series, where they had 3 or 4 things over the evening and some talk, and people went specifically for the thing they were interested in and then left. And I commented that maybe one of the things would be not to give a timetable for what's happening when, so that people simply come to the whole experience and maybe experience something there. But that was interesting. We talked about how you can engage the audience through pre-releasing information, maybe through video or through apps. There was an idea about having how you fill the space between arriving in the concert hall and the music starting. And we talked about the possibility of podcasts or the hearing loop, giving information for people at that point. And also talked about using different platforms, moving on to Instagram, trying other forms which maybe aren't traditionally associated with audiences, but lots to listen to from and to learn from with people. I don't know whether anybody else from our group wants to add anything in. No? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you also for sharing. I think we will stay with all these things we've learned now through the pandemic. We will use podcasts afterwards, and we will use introduction videos, and we will use apps and chats. I don't think we will leave that away again, because we've I think we've all the same experience that we can reach much more people with all these videos and podcasts than come to our concerts. So at least we have this impression, and this is fine and good, and really engages more people who become more brave to really enter a classical concert hall. And I loved the idea of the mashup concerts, and I will introduce this idea in our next week meeting for our new series in the next season, because as a music university, we have all these genres at our university, but we don't mix the concerts, which is crazy. And thank you for sharing, because I think that could help us a lot. Thanks. And now to the last group.
We didn't nominate anyone. I'll say a few words and then people can chip in. I think Richard, well, the people before me have covered quite a lot, but just to build on what Richard was saying about the kind of pre-concert information, I thought some of the ideas from my colleagues were really interesting. Where in York, as well as providing the notes in advance, they are also making films where the artistic director meets the musicians and they talk about the repertoire or the programming from the musician's experience, and they share that beforehand. So it's a way to kind of, and I think we all talked about the way that the digital platform has opened up our way of thinking on this, where, you know, now we're doing so many streams, the opportunity to engage digitally through these kind of films, you know, we're all a lot more aware of that. And another thing that they did with a group of friends who had funded a performance was that they invited the friends on the next day to have a kind of Zoom coffee with the directors and just discuss what they liked and what they didn't like, and share ideas and ask questions. So I'm sure people might have things to add, but I thought those were interesting ideas.
Yeah, we also talked about the challenge of so we can create that, and we do create that and share it, but do the right numbers, or do we get the numbers interacting with that as much as we would like? So we will send the information out, but, you know, they get lots of emails from us, from other organizations. Not everybody has the time or the patience to read an email to see if it's relevant, if it's got anything interesting in for them. So I think we've got to improve our communication so that the audience knows that this is an email that is going to give them something in advance of the performance, and they need to give it sort of 24 hours to read it and to absorb it before the performance. I think that's a challenge.
Thank you very much. Yes, you're quite right. We are all overwhelmed with information, and so we have to build a community around our festivals, around our concert series, so that they have the feeling they want to be informed by us, because they want to be a part of our community. So that's really, really important. And thank you for the ideas. Zoom coffee after the concert. This is great, because there are so many possibilities. What I wanted to say, because it's so often mentioned that it's difficult for musicians to speak about their music. Yes, that's true, but it's not so difficult to answer to questions. for musicians. So Richard talked about the animateurs in the British field who would take this part of, and the Musikvermittler would be the person in the German field, just somebody who is part of the audience in any way, as animator or as Musikvermittler, and who asked the questions the audience would ask, but would be frightened to ask shout out from the audience. But and then it's much more easier for the musicians to talk about their music, because to start at any point is really difficult and it's hard. So thank you for all of you for taking us all into your experiences, share them with us, so many ideas to take with us in our next series after Corona or with Corona. Again, we don't know, we all do not know. Thank you for participating. I like the 2 sessions with you very, very much. I hope you you are interested in the links I sent to you, and they give you some associations for your own work, and hope to see you again, perhaps in a concert you provide. That would be great. Thank you very much. And I now give to Helena, I think.
Thank you, Constanze. Well, thank you very much for these 2 sessions you moderated and did for us all to help us think about our audiences. I think it was very interesting. So just as I said, the presentation will be sent to you afterwards, so you will have all the links. We'll send the recording to you as well.